The allure of danger has always been a tantalizing whisper in the corners of Clara's mind. As she navigated her mundane life, filled with the routine of a 9-to-5 job, the vibrant red locks that cascaded down her back seemed to beckon her towards something greater, something more thrilling than the predictable day-to-day. She often found herself lost in daydreams, imagining adventures that swept her off her feet, far away from the ordinary confines of her reality. Yet, each time she returned to the present, a small sigh escaped her lips, reminding her of the thrill that always seemed just out of reach. Before we begin, can I ask you something from the heart? These stories are created with care, emotion, and countless quiet hours. If this romance touches you in any way, please like the video and subscribe. Your support truly helps me continue. Now, let's begin. One evening, after a particularly grueling day, Clara decided to treat herself to dinner at a high-end restaurant in the heart of the city. The place was known for its exquisite Italian cuisine and luxurious ambience. As she stepped inside, the soft glow of chandeliers and the hum of discreet conversations wrapped around her like a warm embrace. It was a world away from her usual takeout and her small apartment filled with books and unfulfilled dreams. She sat at a table for one, the crisp white tablecloth contrasting sharply with her fiery hair, which caught the light in the most enchanting way. While perusing the menu, Clara felt a presence that made her heart race. She glanced up, and her breath caught in her throat. Across the room stood Luca, the Italian Mafia boss, a figure wrapped in mystery and power. His sharp suit clung perfectly to his frame, and his dark hair was styled impeccably. His piercing gaze swept through the room and landed on her, igniting a spark of curiosity and fear within her. Clara quickly averted her eyes, feeling the weight of his stare linger like an electrifying charge in the air. Just then, as if drawn by an invisible force, Luca approached her table. The world around them faded away, leaving only the two of them suspended in a moment that felt both surreal and magnetic. "You look stunning," he said, his voice smooth and deep, sending shivers down her spine. Clara's cheeks flushed, a mix of surprise and intrigue flooding her senses. She was used to compliments, but this was different. It felt layered with something unspoken, something that hinted at danger. "Thank you," Clara replied, trying to maintain her composure. She could see the corners of his mouth twitch upward, a smirk that held 1,000 secrets. She shifted in her seat, acutely aware of the way his presence dominated the space around her. I'm just here for dinner," she added, hoping to deflect the intensity of his gaze. "Dinner alone?" he inquired, leaning slightly closer, the tantalizing scent of his cologne enveloping her. "Surely a woman like you deserves better company." Her heart raced, caught between the allure of his charm and the instinct to retreat. "I'm perfectly fine on my own, thank you," she managed to say, though her voice wavered slightly. The tension in the air was palpable, thick enough to slice through, and Clara couldn't tell if it was the thrill of the encounter or the danger she sensed lurking beneath the surface. Luca chuckled softly, a sound that resonated with a hint of mischief. "Perhaps you don't know what you're missing." His words hung in the air, heavy with implications. Clara felt a chill run down her spine, a warning bell ringing in her mind. She had heard whispers about men like him, powerful, dangerous, and tangled in a world that was not only glamorous but also perilous. Yet, she couldn't help but feel drawn to him, as if there were an invisible thread connecting their fates. Before she could respond, their moment was interrupted by a loud commotion from the bar area. A group of men was arguing, the tension escalating rapidly. Clara's heart dropped as she overheard snippets of their conversation, words like betrayal and debt floating through the air. She glanced at Luca, whose expression had shifted, eyes narrowing as he assessed the situation. "Stay here," he commanded, a hint of authority laced in his words. Clara nodded, her heart racing as he turned his attention to the disturbance. She felt a surge of apprehension mixed with excitement. The tantalizing pull of danger was undeniable. As she watched him stride toward the bar, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something that would change her life forever. The conversation she had overheard rattled in her mind. What was Luca's connection to this world of threats and debts? Her curiosity was piqued, and although her instincts screamed at her to stay away, there was a part of her that longed to know more. The clash of worlds, her ordinary life and his extraordinary existence, seemed to be colliding in that moment, and Clara felt both terrified and exhilarated. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. As she watched Luca navigate the chaos, a question lingered in her mind. Who was he really? The man who had complimented her, or the figure embroiled in a world of danger? Unbeknownst to her, Clara was teetering on the brink of a journey that would drag her into the depths of the unknown, where love and danger would become intricately intertwined. Clara walked down the familiar streets of her neighborhood, her red hair catching the sunlight and glinting like copper in the bright afternoon. Each step echoed with the anticipation of the ordinary, the mundane rhythm of her daily life. She was, by all accounts, a diligent worker, spending her days at the marketing firm where she had built a reputation for being reliable and creative. Yet, beneath the surface of her structured existence, there was a longing, a whisper of desire for something more thrilling, something that would shatter the monotony of her routine. Every evening, she would stroll past the high-end restaurant where she had first noticed Luca. The establishment boasted a luxurious facade, with its polished glass doors and twinkling chandeliers illuminating the nighttime ambience. Clara had always been too intimidated to step inside, often imagining the opulence within, but tonight felt different. Drawn by an inexplicable force, she decided to push through those glass doors and enter a world that seemed far removed from her own. As she walked in, the atmosphere shifted, wrapping around her like a warm, velvet blanket. The soft melodies of a jazz band floated through the air, creating an intimate vibe that made her heart race. Clara found a table in a cozy corner, where she could observe without being seen. She couldn't shake the feeling of stepping into a different realm, a place where dreams mingled with reality, and where each person had a role to play in a grander story. Her thoughts drifted back to Luca, the enigmatic man who had approached her that night. Just the memory of his compliment sent a shiver of excitement down her spine. "You look stunning." The words played on repeat in her mind, filling her with both exhilaration and uncertainty. She remembered the way he had leaned closer, the hint of danger that accompanied his charm. It was this very duality that sparked something deep within her, a curiosity mixed with caution, an attraction she both wanted to explore and feared to embrace. Suddenly, her reverie was interrupted as a waiter approached her table, a warm smile on his face. "Good evening, miss. May I take your order?" Clara quickly scanned the menu, her appetite suddenly overshadowed by the thrill of the environment. She ordered a glass of red wine, hoping it would calm her racing heart. As she waited, her thoughts wandered back to the encounter with Luca. There was something magnetic about him, a charisma that made her feel alive. Yet, the danger that lingered in the air around him was palpable. She recalled the way his eyes had darkened when he spoke, as if the world around him faded, and they were the only two people who existed in that moment. "Are you here alone?" a voice interrupted her thoughts. Clara looked up to find a man standing before her, a confident grin on his face. "I couldn't help but notice you from across the room. You have a captivating presence." She forced a smile, feeling her cheeks warm. "Thank you," she replied cautiously. There was something about his confidence that was alluring, but it felt disorienting to be the center of attention in such a lavish setting. "I'm just here for dinner." "Dinner alone?" he asked, leaning closer, his gaze assessing her with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "You shouldn't be. A woman like you deserves company that matches her energy." Clara's heart raced as she took a sip of her wine, trying to maintain her composure. "I'm perfectly fine by myself," she countered, though her voice wavered slightly. The tension in the air was thick, filled with unspoken words and hidden agendas. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched, not just by this man, but by someone lurking in the shadows. "Sometimes, company can lead to unexpected adventures," he replied, his smirk growing wider. Clara felt a shiver course through her, the flirtation felt both thrilling and dangerous. She glanced around the restaurant, spotting couples lost in each other's gazes, laughter echoing through the air. She yearned for that connection, but a part of her was hesitant. Just then, the atmosphere shifted as a group of men erupted into a heated argument at the bar. The commotion drew her attention, and Clara's instincts kicked in. She watched as the tension escalated, her heart pounding in her chest. The words, betrayal, and debt floated through the air, mingling with the jazz music that suddenly felt distant. Clara's gaze darted back to the man in front of her, who was now equally engrossed in the unfolding drama. She felt an electric jolt of fear mixed with intrigue. Was this the world Luca inhabited? The danger that accompanied his charm was now on full display, and she felt an undeniable pull toward it. "Stay here," the man said, his voice low and serious as he stepped away, leaving Clara alone at her table. She nodded, her heart racing as she watched him join the fray at the bar, a part of her yearning to follow. What was it about this world that captivated her so? As she sat in her corner, her mind raced with thoughts, each one more frantic than the last. The clash of voices, the tension in the air, the thrill of danger, it was intoxicating. She let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding, momentarily lost in the chaos that swirled around her. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Clara caught another glimpse of the man at the bar, and as he turned, she found herself yearning to understand the world that seemed to beckon her. She didn't know it yet, but she was on the brink of a journey that would entwine her life with the unpredictable and dangerous man she had yet to fully comprehend. The night was just beginning, and Clara could feel the electricity in the air, a promise of what was to come. As Clara sat at her table, the aftertaste of her wine lingering on her palate, she felt a magnetic pull toward the world surrounding her. The vibrant atmosphere of the restaurant buzzed with laughter, clinking glasses, and the soft strains of jazz music. Yet, despite the excitement, she couldn't shake the feeling of being an outsider looking in. The earlier encounter with the man who complimented her was still fresh in her mind, his boldness stirring a mix of intrigue and apprehension within her. Moments later, a familiar figure reappeared, cutting through the crowd with confidence that demanded attention. Luca, the enigmatic man who had captured her interest before, approached her table again. His presence was magnetic, drawing her gaze like a moth to a flame. He looked even more striking in the dim light, his tailored suit accentuating his broad shoulders. Clara's heart raced as he neared, a whirlwind of emotion stirring within her. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice smooth like the finest whiskey. It was more a command than a question, and Clara found herself nodding before she could think better of it. She gestured to the empty seat across from her, the air between them crackling with unspoken tension. "Not at all," she replied, attempting to maintain a casual demeanor despite the flutter in her stomach. As he settled into his chair, she caught a glimpse of something deeper in his dark eyes, a hint of vulnerability that contrasted sharply with the imposing figure he presented to the world. Luca leaned in slightly, his gaze locked onto hers. "You have an interesting aura about you," he said, his voice low and intimate. "I couldn't help but notice how different you are from everyone else here." Clara felt her cheeks flush at the compliment, a rush of warmth flooding her. She wasn't used to receiving such attention, especially not from a man like him. "Thank you," she managed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I'm just here for dinner." The words felt inadequate as she spoke them, as if she were downplaying the significance of the moment. She was acutely aware of how the restaurant buzzed around them, yet in this singular moment, it felt as if they were the only two people in the world. "What do you do?" he asked, leaning back slightly, his expression curious. Clara hesitated, unsure of how to respond. There was something about sharing her mundane life with someone like Luca that felt vulnerable, yet strangely liberating. "I work at a marketing firm," she finally said, forcing a smile. "It's not nearly as exciting as what you might do." The statement hung in the air, and she watched for his reaction, the edges of her confidence wavering. Luca chuckled softly, a sound that resonated deep within her. "Excitement comes in many forms, Clara. Sometimes, it's not about what you do, but how you perceive the world around you. You seem to see more than most." His words were laced with a sincerity that tugged at her heart. "That's one way to look at it," she replied, her thoughts racing. The conversation flowed effortlessly, charged with an undeniable chemistry. As they chatted, Clara couldn't help but notice the way he spoke. His words were deliberate, each one imbued with a weight that hinted at untold stories beneath the surface. But as the conversation deepened, she felt the shadows of doubt creep in. Who was this man really? What lay beneath the polished exterior? Her thoughts were interrupted as a loud commotion erupted from the bar area, drawing her gaze. A group of men were arguing fiercely, their voices rising above the music, a stark contrast to the intimate atmosphere of their table. "Stay here," Luca instructed, his tone shifting as he glanced toward the disruption. Clara's heart raced at the command, the protective undertones sending a thrill through her. As he stood up, she felt a tug of worry, a sense of foreboding washing over her. "Wait, where are you going?" she called after him, her voice tinged with concern. "Just keep an eye on things," he replied, his demeanor changing to one of focused intensity. The way he moved, the way he commanded attention, it was captivating, yet unsettling. She had never been around such raw power before, and it both excited and frightened her. As he walked away, Clara felt a mix of longing and anxiety. She watched him navigate the crowd, the way he effortlessly commanded respect from those around him. It was clear he was not just any man, he was someone of significance, someone whose presence carried weight and consequence. Her mind raced with questions. What kind of trouble was he involved in? Was she truly ready to step into a world that seemed to dance on the edge of danger? The very thought sent shivers down her spine, yet it also ignited a fire within her. As she sat alone at the table, the thrill of danger began to overshadow her apprehension. There was something intoxicating about the risks that surrounded Luca, a siren's call that beckoned her closer, even as her instincts warned her to stay away. Before you skip, just remember, channels like this only survive if you hit subscribe. Otherwise, stories like this one just disappear. Clara realized she was on the precipice of something exhilarating, something that could change her life forever. The night was still young, and with every passing moment, she felt herself drawn deeper into Luca's world, one that promised both excitement and peril in equal measure. As Clara sat at the table, her mind racing with thoughts of Luca and the magnetic pull he had on her, the atmosphere shifted around them. The earlier warmth of the restaurant felt suffocating, and the hints of danger that clung to Luca became palpable. She was suddenly acutely aware of the shadows lurking in the corners of the establishment, the men who tossed wary glances toward Luca, and the tension that simmered just beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect evening. Luca had just stepped away, his tall figure weaving through the crowd, commanding attention with every stride. Clara's heart raced, not just from attraction but from the electric thrill of the unknown. She caught snippets of the argument at the bar, voices rising in volume, but she couldn't peel her gaze away from Luca. The way he carried himself, with an effortless grace that belied the danger that lurked within him, captivated her. As the noise continued to escalate, she felt a knot of anxiety twist in her stomach. What was he getting himself into? Clara leaned forward, her elbows resting on the table as she tried to catch sight of him through the throng of people. She could see the way he approached the group, his expression shifting from the charming man who had complimented her to a serious, commanding presence. "Stay close," she heard him say firmly, the authority in his voice cutting through the chaos. There was a protective edge to his words that sent a shiver down her spine. Clara's thoughts danced between excitement and fear. Was she actually willing to step into this world of secrets and shadows? She had always valued her independence, but the allure of the unknown felt intoxicating. Suddenly, the memory of his deep, resonant voice, the way he had looked into her eyes, made her pulse quicken in a way she had never experienced before. But even as she craved the excitement, there was an instinctive part of her that screamed to run. Who was this man really? What kind of life did he lead that required such a fierce demeanor? The questions swirled in her mind, and she took a steadying breath, trying to quell her rising apprehension. Just then, the argument at the bar turned violent, and Clara's heart dropped as she caught sight of a man shoving another against the bar. The sound of glass shattering echoed through the restaurant, and the patrons nearby gasped in shock. In an instant, Luca was at her side again, his presence overwhelming as he placed a protective hand on her shoulder. "Let's go," he urged, his voice urgent yet calm. Clara's heart raced as she nodded, instinctively following him. The way he led her through the crowd felt surreal, as if they were in their own world, separated from the chaos that erupted around them. They stepped outside into the cool night air, and Clara felt a rush of freedom mixed with trepidation. The street was quieter, the sounds of the restaurant fading into the background. She looked up at Luca, his jaw set with determination. "Are you okay?" "I think so," she replied, her voice shaky. The adrenaline coursed through her veins, heightening her senses. "What just happened back there?" Luca turned to her, his eyes dark and serious. "It's not safe to be around people like that. You need to understand that my world is dangerous, Clara." His words hung heavy in the air between them, and for a moment, she felt a flicker of doubt. Was she ready to dive headfirst into this dangerous life? But then she remembered the way he had looked at her, the way he had pulled her close to protect her. There was an unspoken bond forming between them, one that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. "I understand," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "But I don't want to be a liability for you." Luca studied her for a moment, his expression softening. "You're not a liability. You're more than that. We need to figure this out together." His words sent warmth flooding through her, and she felt a spark of courage igniting within. Perhaps this was the moment she had been waiting for, an opportunity to break free from her mundane life and step into something meaningful, even if it was shrouded in danger. As they stood together in the moonlight, the tension between them shifted. Clara's heart raced, not just from fear but from the undeniable chemistry that crackled in the air. She could feel the heat radiating from him, a magnetic pull drawing her closer. "Luca, she began, but the sound of footsteps interrupted her. They turned to see a group of men approaching, their faces familiar. Clara's heart sank as she recognized them as the same men from the bar, a mix of aggression and anger etched across their features. Luca's demeanor changed instantly, the protective instinct kicking in as he positioned himself in front of her. "Stay behind me," he instructed, his voice low and commanding. Clara moved instinctively, her heart pounding as she watched the confrontation unfold. "Thought you could just walk away, huh?" one of the men sneered, stepping closer. "You think you're above us, Luca?" Clara's breath caught in her throat as she observed the tension building. Luca's expression shifted back to that cold, imposing figure she had sensed earlier. "This is not the place for this," he replied, his tone icy. But the man continued, pushing further. "You think you can just take what you want and leave us out of it? You're in our territory." The words resonated with a sense of danger, and Clara realized the precarious line they were walking. Luca's eyes flickered toward her briefly, a silent reassurance that stirred something deep within her. In that moment, Clara made a choice. She stepped out from behind him, her courage igniting as she faced the men alongside Luca. "You don't have to do this," she said, her voice steady despite the tremors of fear. "This isn't worth it." Luca turned to her in surprise, the tension in his shoulders easing slightly. "Clara, stay back," he warned, but she stood firm, her heart racing. What happened that night changed my destiny forever, she thought, realizing that this was about more than just Luca. It was about claiming her own narrative, stepping into a world that felt both terrifying and exhilarating. Before the situation could escalate, Luca's hand found hers, their fingers intertwining in a gesture of solidarity. She felt the warmth of his grip, the strength radiating from him, as if he were silently saying they could face this together. The moment hung in the air, charged with emotion and the promise of what was to come. In that instance, Clara understood that she was no longer just a bystander in her own life. She was ready to embrace the danger and the passion that awaited her, even if it meant stepping into the unknown with a man who lived on the edge. The stakes were high, but so were the rewards, and she could feel the thrill of a new chapter beginning. As the tension thickened, Clara felt her heart race in sync with the chaos unfolding before her. The men from the bar had encircled them, their intent clear and menacing, and she could sense the danger lurking in the air. Luca's stance was protective, radiating strength and authority, yet there was an unmistakable glimmer of vulnerability in his eyes that tugged at her heartstrings. This was not just a confrontation, it was a battle for their lives, and she was determined to stand by him. "Luca, we can't let them intimidate us," Clara asserted, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. She was surprised by her own resolve. "You need to show them we won't back down." He glanced at her, a mix of admiration and concern etched on his face. You don't understand what you're asking for, he said, his voice low, yet firm. This is my world, and it's dangerous. I'm not afraid, she replied, her determination unwavering. I won't let them see us like this. Luca's expression softened, and for a moment, the weight of the world slipped away. You're brave, Clara, he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. But bravery can lead to recklessness. Maybe, she countered, sensing the shift in their dynamic. But I'd rather be reckless with you than safe without you. The air crackled with unspoken feelings, the tension between them palpable as they faced the approaching men. One of the men stepped forward, the leader of the group, his demeanor arrogant and threatening. You've made a mistake, Luca, he sneered, his eyes narrowing. You think you can just walk away from us? Clara stood her ground, her heart pounding, determined to show Luca that she was not just a passive bystander. We're not afraid of you, she said defiantly, her voice ringing with conviction. The man laughed, a harsh, mocking sound. You think that's going to save you? You're in our territory now. His eyes flickered with malice as he took another step closer. You should know better than to provoke us. Luca's jaw clenched, and Clara could see the storm brewing within him. He was a man who commanded respect and fear, but in this moment, vulnerability seeped through the cracks of his hardened exterior. This isn't just about me, it's about you too, he warned, glancing back at Clara, concern etched on his face. You need to stay out of this. But Clara was resolute. No, I won't. If we're going to face this, we do it together. In that moment, something shifted between them. She could see the walls he had built around himself beginning to crumble as he realized that she was not just a woman caught in his world, she was someone willing to fight for him. You really are something else, aren't you? He said, a hint of admiration lacing his tone. Before she could respond, the men advanced, and Luca's protective instincts kicked in. He stepped closer to Clara, positioning himself between her and the threat, his presence a fortress against the storm. Stay behind me, he commanded, his voice low and authoritative. She obeyed instinctively, feeling the heat radiate from him, a shield against the impending danger. She was both terrified and exhilarated, her heart racing as she watched the confrontation unfold. What are you going to do? She whispered, her eyes locked on Luca's. He met her gaze, the intensity of his expression sending shivers down her spine. I'll handle this, he promised, his voice steady. But you have to trust me. The leader of the men stepped closer, his bravado evident. You think you can protect her, Luca? You're a fool if you believe that, he taunted, a smirk playing on his lips. Let her go, Luca said, his voice calm but laced with an undercurrent of menace. This is between us. Is it? The man shot back, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Or is it about you trying to play the hero? Clara felt a surge of defiance rising within her. She would not be a pawn in this game. We're not afraid of you, she echoed, standing taller beside Luca. You think you can intimidate us, but you're wrong. Luca's eyes flickered with surprise at her boldness, and for the first time, she saw a flicker of hope in his gaze. Clara, he began, but she cut him off. No, listen to me. We can face this together, but you have to trust that I'm in this with you, she insisted, her voice unwavering. The leader sneered, clearly taken aback by Clara's courage. You've got guts, I'll give you that, he said, a grudging respect creeping into his voice. But guts won't save you from what's coming. Neither will fear, Clara shot back, her heart racing. She felt empowered standing next to Luca, her resolve strengthening as the confrontation escalated. Luca turned to her, his expression softening for a brief moment. You're incredible, he said, awe filling his voice. But this isn't a game. It's serious. I know, she replied, squeezing his hand for reassurance. But I'm not backing down. In that instant, they were no longer just two individuals caught in a dangerous world, they were allies, united against a common threat. The stakes were high, and Clara could feel the tension building as the confrontation reached its climax. With a fierce determination, she lifted her chin, ready to face whatever came next, knowing that together, they could confront the danger head-on. The path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, but with Luca by her side, she felt a sense of strength she had never known before. "Let's do this," she said, her voice steady, and in that moment, she knew that whatever happened next would change everything for both of them. Their journey was just beginning, and she was ready to embrace it, come what may. As Clara and Luca stood together, the aftermath of their confrontation still hanging heavily in the air, a mixture of adrenaline and uncertainty coursed through their veins. They had faced danger side by side, and in that moment of vulnerability, a profound connection blossomed between them. The harsh reality of Luca's world had encroached upon their lives, but it had also forged an unbreakable bond, one that neither of them could ignore. Luca looked down at Clara, his expression a blend of admiration and concern. "You surprised me back there," he admitted, his voice low and serious. "Most people wouldn't dare to stand up to them. You're different." Clara felt a rush of warmth at his words. She had always seen herself as just an ordinary woman, someone trying to navigate through life, but in that moment, she realized that perhaps she was capable of more than she thought. "I didn't want to back down. I couldn't let them intimidate us," she replied, finding strength in her own conviction. Luca's eyes softened, and for a fleeting moment, she glimpsed the tumultuous emotions swirling within him. He was a man who had built walls around his heart, but Clara could see cracks starting to form. "You have no idea what you're getting into," he warned gently. "This life is dangerous. I can't guarantee your safety." "But I don't want to live in fear," Clara countered, her green eyes locking onto his with determination. "If this is who you are, then I want to be a part of it. I want to understand you, to stand by your side, no matter what." Luca's heart raced at her declaration, and he took a step closer, closing the distance between them. "You don't know what you're asking for," he murmured, his gaze intense and searching. "There are consequences to being with someone like me, Clara. I can't protect you from everything." Clara felt a shiver run down her spine, but it was not fear that gripped her, it was a sense of exhilaration. "I'm willing to take that risk," she replied, her voice steady and unwavering. "I'd rather face danger by your side than live a mundane life without you." In that moment, Luca's resolve faltered. Here was this woman, fiercely independent and unyielding, standing before him, ready to embrace the chaos of his world. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. He had never felt this way about anyone before. Her bravery ignited something deep within him, stirring emotions he thought were long buried. "I don't want to lose you," he confessed, the weight of his words hanging in the air like a fragile promise. He reached out, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear, and the tenderness of his gesture sent shivers of warmth through her. "If we do this, it's for real. No turning back." Clara nodded, her heart swelling with a mix of fear and hope. "I understand," she said softly, her voice almost a whisper. "But I'm all in, Luca. Together, we can face whatever comes our way." As the tension between them crackled, Luca couldn't help but admire her courage. It was as if she had unwittingly breached the fortress he had built around his heart, and now he found himself wanting to let her in. "I'll do everything I can to keep you safe," he vowed, his voice low but resolute. "But promise me you'll stay close. I won't let you out of my sight." "Promise," Clara said, a smile breaking through her earlier apprehension. It felt like a leap of faith, one that would change the course of their lives forever, but the excitement of the unknown sent her heart racing. Before they could linger in the moment, the reality of their situation settled back in. Clara glanced around, noting the lingering tension in the air, the threat still looming, and a sense of urgency washed over her. "We should get out of here." "I don't want to linger where they can find us," she suggested, her voice laced with practicality. Luca nodded, his expression serious once more. "You're right. Let's go." He took her hand, leading her toward the exit, their fingers intertwining as they maneuvered through the crowd. The world around them faded away, leaving just the two of them, united in purpose. As they stepped outside into the cool night air, Clara felt the weight of what they had just faced. The adrenaline was still pumping through her veins, but now there was also a warmth growing between them, a sense of partnership that she had never experienced before. They were no longer just two individuals caught in a whirlwind, they were a team, ready to confront whatever challenges lay ahead. Luca led her to his car, a sleek black vehicle that exuded power and elegance. As they climbed inside, Clara looked at him, a rush of gratitude washing over her. "Thank you for trusting me," she said, her voice soft but earnest. "You've earned it," he replied, starting the engine. "But remember, this is just the beginning. There's a lot ahead, and I need you to stay strong." Clara nodded, determination flooding her. "I will. I'm ready for this." As they drove away from the danger, the city lights illuminated their path, and Clara realized that she was not just stepping into a dangerous world, she was stepping into a new chapter of her life, one filled with uncertainty but also thrilling possibilities. Let us know what you think about this story. Comment below, like, and subscribe for more thrilling tales, she suggested, excitement bubbling within her. The journey was just beginning, and they were ready to face it together. As Clara and Luca drove through the illuminated streets, the weight of their decision lingered in the air, creating an almost palpable tension between them. Clara gazed out of the window, watching the vibrant city lights blur past, a symphony of colors reflecting the whirlwind of emotions inside her. Just hours ago, she was an ordinary woman, leading an ordinary life. Now, she was entwined with a powerful man whose world was shrouded in danger and intrigue. "Are you okay?" Luca's voice pulled her from her thoughts. His gaze was fixed on the road, but she could sense the intensity radiating from him. It was as if he was searching for any hint of doubt or fear in her demeanor. "I'm just trying to process everything," Clara admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The gravity of their situation settled over her like a heavy blanket. "This is all so new to me." Luca turned to her, his eyes softening. "I won't let anything happen to you. I promise." His words were fierce, yet tender, a reminder of the protective instinct that had first drawn her to him. "But you need to trust me. Trust us." "I do," Clara replied, finding strength in her own conviction. "I just need time to adjust." She smiled slightly, feeling a spark of warmth at the thought of them facing whatever came next together. It was a leap of faith, but she was no stranger to taking risks. As they approached a secluded area away from the city's chaos, Luca pulled over to the side of the road. The car's engine hummed softly, and for a moment, the world outside felt far away. He turned to her, his expression serious yet vulnerable. "This path we're on won't be easy. There will be challenges, and I need you to be ready for that." Clara nodded, her heart racing at the thought of the unknown. "I can handle it. I want to be by your side, Luca." A moment of silence enveloped them, charged with unspoken promises. Then Luca leaned closer, his voice low and steady. "There's something I haven't told you. My past, it's not just dangerous, it's complicated. I've made choices that haunt me. I can't let my past dictate our future." "Then let's face it together," Clara urged, reaching for his hand, intertwining her fingers with his. The warmth of his skin sent a rush of comfort through her. "You're not alone anymore, remember?" He looked at her, his gaze searching hers, as if gauging her sincerity. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," Clara affirmed, feeling the weight of her words. "Whatever comes our way, we'll confront it together. I want to understand you, Luca. I want to be part of your world." Luca's expression softened, and a flicker of hope ignited in his eyes. "You have no idea how much that means to me." He hesitated for a moment, then continued, "There's a reason I kept you close. It's not just attraction, it goes deeper than that." Clara felt a wave of anticipation wash over her. "What do you mean?" He took a deep breath, as if summoning the courage to share his truth. "From the moment I saw you, I felt connected to you. You remind me of everything I've lost, everything I want to protect. The more time I spend with you, the more I realize I don't want to lose you too." Her heart raced at his confession, a mix of emotions swirling inside her, fear, excitement, and a profound sense of purpose. "You won't lose me, Luca. I'm not going anywhere." The sincerity in her voice settled the tension in his shoulders. Luca leaned closer, and for a moment, it felt like the world outside didn't exist. Their breaths mingled, and Clara could almost taste the promise of what lay ahead. He gently brushed a strand of hair behind her ear, his touch sending shivers down her spine. Just then, Luca's phone buzzed, breaking the moment. He glanced at the screen, and his expression shifted, a flicker of concern crossing his face. "I have to take this," he said, his tone suddenly serious. Clara nodded, feeling the shift in energy as he answered the call. "Yeah," he said, his voice low and focused. Clara listened intently, her heart racing as she caught snippets of the conversation. It was clear that something was happening, something that demanded his immediate attention. As he spoke, the words, threat, and location, pierced through her thoughts, wrapping around her heart like a vice. She could feel the tension returning, an electric charge that crackled in the air. Luca's expression hardened, and she knew they were about to be pulled back into the chaos they had both tried to momentarily escape. After a few tense moments, he hung up and turned to her, urgency etched on his face. "We need to go. There's been a development, and I can't let you stay here." Clara's stomach dropped at the sudden shift in their reality. "What's happening?" she asked, her voice tinged with anxiety. "There's a problem with my associates. We need to deal with it before it escalates." He looked into her eyes, his gaze fierce yet filled with an undeniable vulnerability. "I need you to trust me, Clara. Can you do that?" "Yes," she replied firmly, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. "I trust you." "Good," he said, starting the engine again. "Stay close to me, and don't talk to anyone. We'll get through this, I promise." As they drove off into the night, Clara felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment where everything changed. Was she truly ready for this life? She had already taken that leap with Luca, and now there was no turning back. The thrill of the unknown coursed through her veins, blending with the danger surrounding them. Before she could linger on her thoughts, Luca reached for her hand once more, gripping it tightly. "Whatever happens, we face it together. Just remember, stay alert and trust your instincts." The city lights faded into the distance, and Clara felt a sense of excitement mixed with trepidation. This was just the beginning of their journey, a journey that would test their strength, their resolve, and their love. And as they moved deeper into the unknown, a single thought reverberated in her mind: she wouldn't trade this for anything. Let us know what you think about this story. Comment below, like, and subscribe for more thrilling tales. Clara exclaimed, a hint of anticipation in her voice. Their story was just unfolding, and she was ready to embrace every twist and turn that awaited them.